this is not the first time, perhaps, that you are hearing about rehabilitation. Don't forget, we've had this conversation. The last time we had this conversation about refinery rehabilitation, it was at Port Harcourt. And now 2 others are going to join. We have 4 refineries. They're more or less dead refineries because of their output. They're really not working. And the big question a lot of Nigerians are asking, we have 4 refineries, we have crude, but yet we have to take them out of the country and bring them back. It's a shameful situation. A lot of experts have described it. If we have the crude, we should be able to refine it. 4 refineries, and we are still not able to refine locally. And so these are the questions that I want to ask and hopefully get answers to you tonight. I'm being joined on the program tonight by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Timi Pereseva. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
At this very same spot, a few months ago, we had a conversation around Port Harcourt Refinery. At the time, you told me that it will go up about $1.5 billion US. 2 refineries will go up 1.4, less than what Port Harcourt will go up. Why that?
First, Port Harcourt was not just one refinery. If you remember our conversation, Shell,
yeah.
Port Harcourt is also 2 refineries in one. You have the 60,000 barrels and you have the 110,000 barrels. So you see that Port Harcourt actually has 2 refineries to get 150,000 barrels. So Port Harcourt has 2 refineries in one place. So it was 2 refineries then, and it's also 2 refineries now. Apart from that, Port Harcourt was a much bigger refinery. We're talking about 210,000 barrels per day refinery in one. And Port Harcourt had been badly managed, mismanaged up till then. And the rehabilitation has started, and Warri and Kaduna were in a fairly better situation, better condition than Port Harcourt was. That's why you see the difference. 210, now also little over 200,000 barrels. But Port Harcourt was in a worse situation because a previous attempt at turnaround maintenance of Port Harcourt had actually damaged the refinery. So we had to start all over again. But in case of Warri refineries, it's in a better situation. Kaduna too is in a better situation. That's why they are now taking less than what Port Harcourt took at the time.
Work has started on the Port Harcourt refinery.
Yeah, Port Harcourt work has started.
How far will that work?
Well, we have released 15% of the contract value to the contractor. So, of course, not all the work will start. A lot of work will be offshore as well. You know, there's a lot of fabrication work that will be going on, but work has started in the refinery. I cannot assess. What we have agreed in FEC yesterday also is that we'll be giving periodic updates. So we'll be going to the refinery, visiting the refineries, and giving periodic updates to Nigerians.
So there's really no much progress yet. Work is still ongoing, but we cannot tell how far.
I cannot say there is no real work going on. I mean, I have not visited Port Harcourt. We are going to have periodic updates. Work has begun, but you know, work in the rehabilitation of a refinery, there is in-situ work in the refinery. There is also a lot of work to be fabricated outside Nigeria in many cases. Most of that fabrication work is ongoing, but work also, the in-situ work in Port Harcourt has started, and we have released 15% of the value of the contract to the contractors. So let us say that at least 15% of the work is ongoing now.
It's interesting that, you know, when you made a statement about the Port Harcourt refinery, experts, a lot of Nigerians came out to say that was not a good idea. That is not the direction the rest of the world is going to, that we should privatize. Government does not look like a good manager of this kind of resources. We should privatize and government should benefit from whatever comes out of it. But it's interesting that you're still going ahead with it too, despite what experts are arguing against this kind of move.
I don't know who you call experts. I heard somebody like Gino Malay also talk about it. He was not an expert. Not every Nigerian is an expert. If we are talking about experts, we talk with experts too. So you might be talking to a different set of experts who belong to the opposition. But our experts tell us that this is the best way to go. I will agree with you that government is not the best manager of refineries. And that's why this time we are actually going to have a professional manager to manage refineries. We're not going to manage the refineries at all. I've said that for the opt-in time. But we believe that the refineries, we should get the refineries back to life before we decide on that, on the option of whether we are going to privatize or sell off the refineries. If we try to sell the refineries, which you call dead refineries, you will be the first person, Shehu, to go out there and say, oh, you are selling dead refineries to people. So we want to sell live refineries, refineries that are working. I think that is the fairest thing for government to do. And that's why we have decided to get all our refineries working. We want to prove to you that we can get these refineries working. We didn't damage those refineries. We actually inherited as a government damaged refineries. And we want to at least tell Nigerians, show the world that we can fix these refineries. And then, of course, it's up to us, Nigerians, to decide what we're going to do with these refineries after we have brought them to life.
Fixing the refineries might be a good idea, but perhaps where some people disagree is the manner and the approach in which you're taking in fixing it, because the global trend in this kind of thing is for government to take a step back, privatize, and divest and make more income rather than what the federal government is doing now. And the question is, at what cost are you fixing these refineries?
But Shehu, I keep saying this. You know, government already took that policy option before to step back, divest, and let the refineries operate in private hands. They did that before. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
President Obasanjo did that before. What did Nigerians say? So we don't want to go that route again. What we are saying, that option might come down the road, but we must get these refineries functioning first. And that's what we want to do. And we have agreed with you that we are not the best managers. And therefore, when we fix these refineries, we want to bring professional refinery managers to come and manage this, while we as Nigerians can sit back and say, okay, what do we do with these refineries? Are we going to leave the refineries in the hands of the government, or are we going to privatize? Let that be a discussion for later. But I don't think that right now it is the best time to discuss that, because we've done, as a government, we've taken that policy direction before. And you, Shehu, we are in the forefront of criticizing that policy direction, if I remember.
I'm in the forefront of asking questions. Because I know Nigeria has some of the youngest refineries in the world. And there are refineries that are way over 100 years, and they're still working. Yeah. They're still functioning. But the issue and the concern is why our refineries are not working. And it's simple, maintenance. But let's look at, before we go into some deep issues on the technicalities and what all of this has for Nigerians, an average Nigerian get to benefit from this. Who are the people? Which companies are getting what? Is it the same company that is working on the Port Harcourt refineries, the Warri, the Kaduna? Can you give us the details of those the federal government is dealing with?
Port Harcourt refinery, the contractor for Port Harcourt refinery rehabilitation is called Tecnimont. It's an Italian company in partnership with Daewoo. That's the consortium. Warri Refinery is Saipem, and Kaduna Refinery is also Saipem. So they are different. It's a different contractor for Port Harcourt, but the same contractor for Warri and Port Harcourt, because it's a package. So we gave it to them, and of course they had the option. All contractors had the option of choosing one refinery or the two, but all the contractors requested for that package, which contained the two refineries. So we gave it to them as one.
Was there a bidding process?
It was a bidding process. It came from 30 interested companies, came down to to 5 companies pre-qualified, and then, of course, Saipem won.
Was there any Nigerian companies on that bidding process?
No, there was no Nigerian company.
So there are no competent Nigerian company that can handle such magnitude?
No Nigerian company bidded. I mean, I cannot say if there are competent.
The bidding was well advertised?
Of course, it was well advertised. It was an international bid, so it was well advertised. If people from all over the world participated in a bid, then of course Nigerians would have also seen the bid as well. But if they didn't participate, you can't manufacture a bid for Nigerians.
Is there any correlation? Saipem, that name's ring a bell. They are part of any the NLNG project?
Yes, they are part of Train 7 as well.
Train 7.
Yes, they are a major contracting company in Nigeria. Of course, based in Nigeria, they are a major contracting firm in the oil and gas industry.
So is there any connection that they got this bid if they're working on the Train 7 or the LNG?
What do you mean if they have?
No, because if they are the ones working on the Train 7 and they are the contractors working on the rehabilitation, is there any correlation? Is there any leverage for them to have gotten
No. They are a contracting company. When you advertise contracts, they bid and they win. That's all. I mean, they are around to do business and they look out for businesses. So there's no correlation. I mean, they just look for businesses and you evaluate their bids and they win. And they are very good. So, I mean, they win.
So before I come back to Warri and Kaduna, for the Port Harcourt, the federal government is supposed to pay some money, NNPC is supposed to pay. That counterpart funding from the federal government and the NNPC, has that been paid, remitted?
Well, I won't give you the details of what has come into the government side, but what I'm telling you is that we are not owing the contractor. We have paid what is due to the contractor as of this time.
Because there is part of that payment captured in the 2021 budget and 2022 budget.
We are good to go, I can tell you. We are not complaining at all. We have the funding in place, and we have already made the initial payment to them, and the contractors are not complaining.
What about the Warri and Kaduna? What is the counterpart funding from the Nigeria point of view?
It will still be the same kind of counterpart funding. It will be from budget and also from lenders.
How much of what's the percentage that Nigeria is bringing?
The same kind of percentage that you.
Can you give us an idea?
I gave you the idea before.
No, but now you guys Nigeria for the sake of those who didn't watch at the time, but I'm watching right now.
No. It's still the same kind of funding. I mean, about 50% from budget and 50% from lenders.
How are we sure about the valuation? How did it come about, the valuation of these bids?
There are professional valuation for this kind of bids. I mean, it is international. There are international standards, and we followed all those international standards before we arrived at those figures. Wood Mackenzie was part of it. I mean, there are international consultants that were part of the whole process, I can tell you.
Is there any evidence that we are not overpaying?
No, there is. We are not overpaying at all. I mean, it was benchmarked against similar projects across the world, and we are not overpaying at all.
So you look at how much is going into these projects, and it's a moment where Nigeria says we do not have money. We have a revenue problem in the country. And look at the history of TAM, the turnaround maintenance process in Nigeria. The question is, where is this idea coming from? Who owned the idea? Who brought up that idea of the rehabilitation? Was it Mr. President or yourself?
No. You see, when you say that, we are saying at this time there is no money. We are overpaying, or we don't have money. Now you have to look at it from this perspective. No matter how much you don't have money, there are certain things you must do to live. I mean, you cannot say because you don't have money, you're not going to eat. You must find a way to eat. So, I mean, if we don't have money, we have to still import products, for example. And if you look at it, weighed against the cost, you say, look, are we going to continue to import products? What is the solution to this importation? Now we want to deregulate. Nigerians are saying, look, why are we importing? That is the first question Nigerians ask. Why are you importing products when you have refineries that you cannot fix? So you look at it, look, you must spend this money. You burn trillions of naira subsidizing this product for Nigerians. You are still spending the money. So we say, look, the best thing is, why don't you look at how you can bring some of that money to rehabilitate this refinery, so at least you can stop the importation of products. So whichever way you go, you will still spend that money.
But whose idea is it? Is it the president?
No, it's the idea of the federal government.
No, it didn't come from your ministry. It came.
Of course, it's usually will come from below upwards. The president will not originate an idea
Because he's the minister of petroleum.
No.
He is the minister of
normally will originate from under, and it will escalate to the president. That is the way it works.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. It's always ground up.
Okay.
It's ideas are generated from the ground up, and then it is taken up to the president for approval. That is how our ideas.
Problem? You didn't have any hassle?
Of course, we look at it, we discuss it, we present to him, and he sees that this is the way to go. And that is how it works. That's how government works.
Let's take a breather now, and we'll go on break. And when we return, more on the refineries, the rehabilitation, and what is the need for Nigerians. When we come back from this break, our conversations with the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, in his explanations to Nigerians on the rehabilitation and the monies that are going to be spent by Nigerians. Everyone for staying with us right here on Channels Television. We're live in the office of the Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Timipre Silva, on the rehabilitation exercise and project of the federal government on the Nigerian refineries. Two of them they've approved just yesterday at the Federal Executive Council meeting. Warri and Kaduna. So does earlier that Petroleum refinery rehabilitation is ongoing. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your time tonight. Let's get back to the conversation. I need to also ask you, with all of these rehabilitation going on, there are questions on what Nigerians get to benefit from all of this, and spending this money on rehabilitation, knowing full well that fossil fuel is getting outdated. Gas is the way people are thinking. People are already thinking about alternatives. People are thinking about electric cars. In the next 10 years, there will be less patronage for some of these products that we're spending money on. Are you taking a risk? Have you considered some of these factors?
Of course, every factor has been considered. And sometimes I think Nigerians, when they engage in these arguments, are not really taking the whole picture into consideration. When you say that you're actually moving to an era of renewable energy, what is being spoken about usually is that in about 20 years period, 2040, oil will begin to account for less of the percentage of the energy mix. It doesn't mean that oil itself will no longer be a fuel. There is no time anybody will tell you that only renewables will be in the mix. There is usually an energy mix. Oil is part of it, gas is part of it. In some countries, nuclear is part of it. In many countries, coal is also part of it. But today, oil actually occupies a very exaggerated position in that mix. So what the West is trying to do is to reduce that percentage. It is not that they are going to eliminate oil completely.
But it will be less attractive.
It will be less. No, well, to them. But for us, are we ready? Are we ready for that? That is the question. They have been able to achieve a basic energy base load. That is, they have provided electricity for everyone in their country. Not on oil, not on renewables, but most of them even achieve that base load on a fuel like coal, which is very dirty. Now they've achieved that base load they can begin to think of finer ways of generating energy. We haven't achieved the base load, Shehu. In Nigeria, there are still a lot of people without electricity. And we cannot achieve that on renewables. So what we are telling the rest of the world is that we cannot join that race to renewables now. You know, before now, long ago in history, Europe sat down in the Berlin Conference and split up Africa between them. We were not on the table. This time also, we were not part of the definition of what constitutes renewables, for example. If you tell me, in the definition of renewables, you tell me that nuclear energy is a renewable fuel, while gas is not, I disagree with you. So what we are saying is, yes, the West has defined renewables. They are saying they want to move to renewables. That they must also allow us, because we have a lot of gas resources, we have a lot of petroleum resources generally, and we want to be able to at least achieve our energy base load as well. That means we want to also be able to provide electricity to all our citizens based on what we have. Then we will join that conversation. It's not as if we are not interested in renewables.
Are we ready for that conversation?
We'll be working side by side. We'll be working on renewables side by side. But they will also allow us. So are you going to tell me now, Sheun, that we should abandon all our oil and gas resources?
But are we planning for the future, Minister? Are we planning for the future?
We are definitely.
Because the future,
no, we are definitely.
When telecommunications came, and it's 20 years since the emergence of GSM in Nigeria, Nigeria didn't say we're not ready. We simply just hooked up, no matter how sluggish or no matter how slow it could be at a time. Are we saying that we're giving up on hooking up because we say we're not ready?
No. Come on, you understand, you should understand. That is not a fair comparison. What we are saying, we are not against renewables. We are working on developing renewables. But we are also telling you and telling the rest of the world that we have a lot of oil and gas resources yet untapped. And we have a lot of Nigerians without energy. So let us use this asset that we have and we know while we are working on the renewables. You see, the problem, what you just said, actually indicts us. Yes, the world came with telecoms, with GSM. Now, the rest of the world still has telephones in their houses, landlines. They still have.
It's a cultural thing.
No, but they still have landlines. We just move hook, line, and sinker to GSM, and landlines don't exist anymore. The world moved to emails, and they still have post offices. People still write letters in the rest of the world.
They still do in Nigeria.
Today,
post mails.
So today, your post offices are almost dead.
But
so what I'm saying is that, you see, the two must be developed side by side. This whole idea of jumping to the next thing and then abandoning that is not how it should be.
But the question, Honorable Minister, is was it a calculated risk you have taken in spending this money and these resources, knowing that the nearest future, and it's getting closer than imagined?
It is a very calculated risk. Because we know that in the foreseeable future, petroleum product will still be part of the mix. You cannot do away with it. So we cannot now say we don't want to invest in that sector, because we are hoping that we will develop renewables, and it's premature
So
It's like you see, it's like, let me give you the example of the woman who was who took all her time, went to the stream to fetch water because there had not been any rain. She went to fetch water in the stream, and she was coming back home, and she looked at the sky. It was as if it was going to rain. So she poured out the water, and then it didn't rain again. So she was stranded. So let us have this one.
But we prepared for the gas.
No, that's where we're going. No, we're actually working on our energy transition policy. We are actually preparing also for the energy transition to renewables. And we are telling the world that, look, our transition fuel will be gas. But while we are getting ready for the renewable fuels, we cannot abandon what we already have. So what you are telling me, Sheung, is that we should abandon the refineries and abandon gas and focus on renewables because the world is talking about renewables. Even the West has not abandoned oil and gas.
I'm just saying that maybe we should calculate better.
No,
based on the resources that we have. If the risk is enough.
Who are the biggest producers of crude oil? Who are the biggest producers of gas? Even in Nigeria. The IOCs account for 80% of our production. They didn't run away yet. So the problem is we just get snapshots of the conversation and we run with it. We have to consolidate on our position, and we have to assure access to energy to our people on what we have. And then we can think about the renewables. I like those words. I like renewables, solar energy, wind energy. I like those words. But seriously, what is before me, what we have 260 CF of gas reserve, proven.
And
we have
of that
40 billion
every day.
40 billion barrels of oil to be produced. So we have to focus on that. And the world cannot say now that we can abandon this. And the world cannot say that we should abandon our refineries and then begin to develop windmills or begin to have solar energy. Even the solar energy I see on the street, most of them are not even very, very bright. It's still an emerging technology. So, well, I'm just saying that on a lighter note, but I'm just saying that for us as a country, we must all agree that we should focus on what we have before we talk about renewables.
The Nigerian people that you're doing this on their behalf, you can't shave people's head in their absence. And so they deserve the explanation and they want to know. And that's why we are asking the questions.
Thank you.
And it's important also to ask, in this age that we're looking for Forex, is it possible that we are paying these contractors in Naira?
Well, I told you this is an international tender. And in an international tender, you cannot pay in Naira. Most of the refinery components are imported into the country. So you cannot pay somebody Naira when he will need the dollar to import the parts. So the Naira, the contract is denominated partly in Naira, partly in dollars. Because of course there is a Naira component to look at the local side, and then of course the dollar component. But everything comes down to...
When you started the Port Harcourt refinery, the dollar, the exchange rate was different.
Yes, exactly.
But now it's different. Now the inflationary factor of that.
Well, you see, it is always within a band. So if you say because Port Harcourt, the rates were different, we took all that into consideration in costing it.
It's over $400 to $1.
It's within a band. It's always considered. You know. That's why the consultants are there. They look at it. They look at the possible inflation and so on within that time. and then they denominate it in dollars.
So because the effect of this is that if you're paying 1.4 billion spend dollars, that there's going to be a depletion of the forex post bucket that we have. But let's move to some other technical areas of the refinery. These refineries are supposed to be hub refinery. Where are the pipes to service these refineries? Are we building
the pipelines?
The pipelines before the infrastructure, or what are the plans for the infrastructure to service these refineries?
Well, the pipelines that are connected directly to the refineries are part of the contract. But the fact is that there are, I know what you mean, the pipeline network to be able to transport the product
out of the.
What we are trying to do now is to decouple the pipelines so that the pipelines themselves become another opportunity for private sector people. We have already announced to the Nigerian people that what we are trying to do is to now make that midstream another opportunity so that people can own the pipelines now, fix those pipelines so that when we pump the product through those pipelines, they charge for throughput. So the pipeline network will be another tender for people to actually, in this case, take over, fix it, and manage.
So,
because we have seen that government cannot manage that network of pipeline. When you pass a pipeline from all the way from the south to Kaduna, all the way passing through forests, passing through communities, government cannot manage that. So what we want to give that is as an opportunity to a private sector person to own that pipeline and manage it. Create employment so people can manage, secure the pipeline for you so that you can take the product all the way down.
What about the rail services?
Of course, that's also part of the mix as well. I mean,
there are plans for rail transportation out of the refineries.
Of course, if you want to take, look, when you refine, what happens? I refine the product. You as a downstream person, as an oil marketer, you come and buy the product. How you prefer to move your product is your own idea. If you want to move it through a pipeline, it's okay. If you want to move it through rail, it's okay. If you want to bring your tankers, that's your business. So, I mean, that is not for us to determine. It is for the oil marketers to determine how they want to move their product. So government will build the rail network and then make sure that the pipelines are functional. And then, of course, we can now move the products whichever way is best for us.
So because I know some of these timelines will outlive the Warri government, the Port Harcourt will be half delivered before 2023 when President Warri gets out of office.
It's not half, more than half delivered, but not fully delivered, yes.
Warri and Kaduna
will also be mostly delivered, but not fully delivered.
So this is going to be continued by any other government?
Of course, any other government. Expectedly, it will be an APC government that will come in, so they will continue the policies.
Why do you think so? Why do you think your party has the capacity?
You know, I'm a politician, so I will tell you that most likely it will be an APC government.
Do you think your party is that popular right now?
Of course, the party. I mean, which other party is more popular than APC? Tell me. We have 23 government, 23 states. More governors are coming. The other party is in disarray. You just said it. You said it now. So which other party is there?
The same disease is affecting your party too.
No, but of course
it's
in varied degrees.
But I'm talking
about... our problem is a toe problem, theirs is a mental problem.
But I'm talking about the issue of going to an election. Whether or not, what made some people vote for your party in 2015 and 2019, and with what is happening in the country, would make them do the same?
No, I'm telling you that, you see, look, you must agree. If you really have looked around, you will agree with me that we have achieved a lot as a government. We have achieved much more than any government I can say. Unfortunately, we've had our problems. I mean, no government has gone through COVID that almost wiped out the whole year.
But COVID is just 1 year. Over 5 years
the effect of COVID
COVID is just 2020.
Okay, look at it. No, look at it from the beginning.
It has effect. I'm not downplaying that. But I'm saying that is not an excuse enough to give Nigerians, Honorable Minister.
Look at it from the beginning, Shehu. We came in. We inherited an economy that was on one leg. Then we got into a recession in 2000. You remember? Then, of course, oil price crash.
I remember, but I don't.
I
mean, not necessarily agree.
Just listen to me.
Because some economists, they say that the first recession is self-inflicted.
No.
Partly.
No. You see, I tell you what we inherited. I always tell people it's like broken China. Somebody broke the China and arranged it very well on the table as if it wasn't broken. So you came into the room and you thought there was a China on the table, and you tried to pick it up, and it just fell to pieces in your hands. Who broke it? Is it you, or was it already broken?
It's broken in your hands.
So you see, so that was the kind of economy we inherited. We inherited an economy that is already broken. We tried to pick up the economy, and it's scattered in our hands.
So in essence, Honorable Minister, you're saying that Nigerians will vote your party again in 2023?
Over and over again, I can tell you that.
Okay, let's get back to the conversation of the refineries, because we have little more time left, and I still have about 3 questions to ask you. Do you agree, for those who are of the opinion, that the inability of those refineries to work is largely political?
Well, frankly, I will not say that. But I tell you, there are so many reasons. You know, government is not a good manager. That is number one. I also think that deregulation is part of it. And then, of course, the approval processes for managing a refinery is not optimal. If you say that a valve gets bad in a refinery, and you have to get approvals all the way down, then it comes. Then, of course, it is outside NNPC limit, so it goes to FEC. By the time that process is over, it is too long. More valves have gotten bad. So by the time you go back with this, your valve, you have another 2 valves that have gone bad. So government was not, if you have a private sector person running a refinery, a valve gets bad, they will fix it the next day. So another valve doesn't get bad in the process. But the processes of approvals and so on, because it's a government refinery, and when you say government processes and so on, it becomes too long and suboptimal for a refinery to function well. So the structure was not good, and was not good at all. So now what we want to do is to give it to a professional manager who will be managing it commercially. I don't know about all the political angles.
The issue of the sabotage also, for the interest of those who do not want to benefit from it.
You see, Nigerians, always have conspiracy theories about everything. I mean, but I really don't know. I cannot say that. But what I know is that government was not a good manager of those refineries. We have agreed, and we want to leave that and make sure that it's given to private, professional people to manage now.
All right. We just have a few seconds to go. The issue of subsidy, you've mentioned it. The whole nation know that that is not the right thing to do. Don't you have the muscle to stop paying subsidy?
Of course, we have the muscle. But you see, like you said, we must be considerate of our people as well. You cannot, because you have the muscle, box everybody down in the room. So what we are saying is, look, before we do this, we need to put some structures in place so that the impact on the people will be minimized. So what we are trying to do is to try to create an alternative which is cheaper, which is more affordable. So that structure is being put in place. We also think that maybe there will be need for some kind of palliatives. So we're looking at all that holistically.
So you don't have a timeline or the date to stop paying subsidy?
Well, I will not give you a date now. The Vice President is actually leading an effort, and we're working out the details. And very soon, especially with the PIB passed, we will come out and we'll tell Nigerians what date subsidy will kick in. Removal of subsidy will kick in.
So it could be in the lifetime of this administration?
Hopefully.
That could also impact on the price of products, of course.
Oh, yes, but we would have set up a structure that will minimize the impact on the people.
This is how we close, and this on this question that do we need to close. Are you thinking of post-rehabilitation? Is there any provision for operator and maintenance model? I've been told I just have 60 seconds to close.
No, of course, I've been talking about operation and maintenance all the time. I said we want to give it to a private sector person, a professional manager and operator. And that process too will be bidded for. It will be advertised, and then the professional people will apply and bid for it, and we'll give it to the winner of the bids.
Mr. Timmy Silva, the Honorable Minister for Petroleum Resources, thank you so much for allowing us in your office, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. Bye-bye.